What up YouTube? My name is Marvin and today I'm going to be talking about 6 mods that I think you should do for your Squier Strat. Now this video stems from another video I did about the best beginner guitar, which I believe is a Squier Strat. If you haven't checked that out, click around, click that link and watch it. Some good stuff in there. So alright, let's jump right into this. The first thing you should upgrade on your Strat, which I believe is one of the most important things to upgrade, is the nut. The reason I say you upgrade the nut first is because it has a profound difference in terms of tuning stability. We're talking about a Stratocaster. Strats have tremolos. Well, most of them have tremolos. The way that a tremolo works is that you change the pitch of the strings by manipulating the tension. You do this by pushing down on the tremolo arm, pulling up, but as you're doing that, the string is also moving in between the nut ever so slightly. If you've taken a close look at strings, you can see the little windings and everything around the string, and that can get caught onto the nut. Now the stock nut on most Strats are going to be made of plastic, and plastic tends to catch these little windings and little ridges, and that can cause tuning instability because once it gets caught, it'll just stay there. Sometimes when you're even using the tremolo, you can hear this. It sounds like this little like clicky sound or whatever. And I can't exactly show you this on this video because I've already changed the nut on my Strat. I actually opted to get a graphite nut. Graphite is a material that when it interacts with the steel of the strings or nickel or whatever the strings are made of, it creates a nice fluid surface. Not literally made of fluid, but just it's nice and buttery smooth so that the string can glide across it without any friction. To install a nut is actually not that hard. If you want me to do a video on how to install a nut, let me know in the comments. Now, if you don't want to go and buy a new nut, there's another trick. You could actually take a pencil and put in some of that lead, the graphite inside the pencil, in between the slots of your nut. That's also a good temporary fix, but I honestly prefer to just have the nut there so I don't have to think about coloring inside the nut slots ever so often or whatever. So yeah, number 1, update your nut. Number 2 is the tuners. And if you're already going to do your nut, which is going to help with tuning stability, you could do your tuners, which also helps in tuning stability. Now, it's not going to make your Strat stay in tune better through use of the tremolo. That's not really what the tuners are doing. The tuners actually help when you're actually tuning the guitar because it depends on how well built the tuners are. Sometimes they'll slip, sometimes they don't hold correctly even after you tune it and you start bending the strings. Sometimes they'll like kind of unwrap themselves in a way. So when you invest in higher quality tuners, they just make the tuning of the instrument itself better. On my Strat, I opted to get Sperzel locking tuners, and I didn't go with Sperzel for any other reason than just finding a nice deal on the Music Gear Exchange on Facebook. I bought them used and popped them in, and yeah, they just work great. And because they're locking tuners, changing strings is very quick and easy. You snap it off, and it just stays there, locks in place. It's very easy. I don't know, you don't have to wind it and do all that craziness, whatever. But change your tuners. You can get regular tuners, you can get Sperzels, you can get whatever, you can get locking, but get better tuners because the ones that come with the Strat aren't exactly bad, but they're not that great. My third recommendation is to change the Pickguard. The Pickguard also coincides with something else I'm going to mention later in this video. But the reason I say change the Pickguard is because when you get a Strat, you get whatever color they give you, whatever design and shape or whatever. And I say change the Pickguard because you get to add your own essence to the Strat. I'm a big supporter of people modding their guitars and making them look and play the way they want it to play and look. Changing the Pickguard is a really easy way to change the entire look of your guitar. Believe me, it is a big difference if you even just change it from a black Pickguard to a white Pickguard. That could inspire you to play more or just pick up your guitar more. Well, I guess that's inspire you to play more, but you get the point. Like, it adds a little extra flair and essence to your guitar. It may just want you to play more. And I found for me, changing to the Pearloid Pickguard that I have, it looks different than having just a standard white Pickguard. Where the standard white is kind of the classy look, the Pearloid is more the like, oh, look at me, I'm a bad mamma jamma. You know, like, it just makes the guitar look so much better to me. It also just makes it more your guitar and not just a Strat. Number 4, it's pretty important only if you're really gigging. Change the strap buttons. The stock strap buttons on a Strat suck booty. They are not good. I would not depend on those at all. I highly recommend that you get some kind of locking strap locks, especially if you're playing live. It's just for that stability and for that security, knowing that like it's not gonna fall. You never know, the screw could just get loose, it could just fall, and boom, your headstock hits the floor. It won't snap off like a Les Paul or something, because you know, these are actually good quality. Let me stop. But strap locks will really help with that. And actually, I haven't even put strap locks on my Strat because I rarely take it outside as is. I actually took the strap buttons from my Ibanez Glaive because I put strap locks on that guitar, and I took the buttons from that guitar and put it on this guitar because they're really big and wide for some reason, and they just, I don't know. They look cool, they have a nice color, so I put it on there so I don't have to buy strap locks. But I would recommend, highly, highly, highly recommend for anybody, for not even just a Strat, but just any guitar in general, put strap locks on it. My favorites, honestly, are the DiMarzio strap locks because they have the clip and they're just really cool. They have nice colors. But if you don't like the clip, I like using the Dunlop strap locks because they actually function as regular strap buttons, but then you have the locks on it as well. And for some reason, it's kind of weird, but on my basses, I have the Dunlop ones, and on my guitars, I have the DiMarzios. I don't know why, but I just like how the Dunlop ones feel when I'm playing on bass, which is the only thing I really gig live anyway. And my guitars, I like how the DiMarzios feel. I have no reason why, that's just what I like. Okay, so number 5 is gonna be a combination of a bunch of stuff, but basically upgrade stuff in your bridge assembly. Now, when I'm talking about your bridge assembly, this can be the bridge itself, this can be the saddles, this could be the springs, it's basically everything involving the bridge. Before I even go into this, there is one thing I have to say. A Squier Affinity Strat has a slimmer body than like a regular Fender Strat or like a Mexican Strat. Take into account that the block on your bridge has to be a specific millimeter. I think the length of the Affinity series guitars is 39 millimeters. I know for sure the Fender ones are like 43. They're much longer and they're much bigger. So if you put a Fender one in there, it'll fit, but it's gonna be sticking out in the back, and that might prove to be uncomfortable for most people. Me, honestly, because of all that, I haven't even opted to change the bridge on mine. I've just left it as is. But I did change the saddles because I don't like the old school Fender saddles. I just don't. The saddles I have in my guitar are very similar to the ones that you'd find on a typical Ibanez, and it's just what I like. I've even changed the screws that go inside the saddles. So the ones that you use to change the height, the screws that come stock on the bridges are really long, and they come out and they poke you in the palm of your hand, like the little juicy part that you use to do palm mutes, you know? And that hurts and it's annoying. So I went on eBay and bought some shorter ones. It's like, what, $7 for stainless steel ones? And they sit really nicely under so that all you're feeling is the bridge saddle itself and the string. So it's super, super comfortable. So that's one example. Another thing you can do related to the bridge is either change out the springs for noiseless springs because they do emit noise. You may not notice this if you're playing at home on lower volumes, but play loud or play live and just ring a chord out and stop it. And it's really annoying. You're gonna hear the ringing. It's really annoying. It's just like on a Floyd Rose guitar. You'll hear that as well. If you don't wanna buy springs, you could take some foam and just push it under the springs, or even just put it through the springs. You can put it through each one if you want. And having the springs rest on the foam, it will deaden the sound, but it won't change the tone of your guitar, and it won't change how the springs operate. It'll just kill the sound of the ringing out that you're gonna hear, and just makes your playing that much more clean and efficient. Oh, there is one more thing that I can tell you. This is something that is like slept on. I don't even remember where I heard about this, but this is one of the best things I've ever learned. Go out and buy one of these. If you don't know what these are basically springs that go inside the assembly for your tremolo arm. If you've ever played on a Floyd Rose style guitar, one that has like a really nice tremolo, like the 2-point system, you'll know that the arm typically stays in place when you're moving the tremolo arm. But typically on like a Squier Strat or something, the arm just kind of flops around and kind of just moves around like a Rafflecopter or something. Maybe you want it to stay in one position while you're playing so it's easy for you to grab, and it won't do that. What you would have to do is you take out the tremolo arm, put in the spring, and then you put the tremolo arm back in. The spring has tension as you're screwing it down. So that tension pushes the arm up against the inside screw parts. And that tension helps to keep the arm in place. I'm telling you, it makes a giant difference if you're a huge user of the whammy bar or tremolo arm, whatever you want to call it, where you can flick it out of place, play, pull it back up, and leave it where you want to leave it, instead of it just like dangling like a loser. And the springs aren't even expensive. They're $10. It's such a no-brainer, but it's something that's so slept on. I don't remember where I heard about this, but when I put it into my guitar, I was just like flabbergasted. I was like, wow, I can't believe I never thought to get something like this. Number 6, and it's my last one for this list, change the pickups. But wait, before you change the pickups, let me just make this really clear. In my experience of changing a lot of different pickups, from not just in my Strat, but in other guitars in general, if you're going to be changing pickups that are similar in design, you are not going to get that big of a difference. The only reason I'd say to change the pickups mainly is if you have noise, like something's wrong with the pickup, it's microphonic, or there's just weird like artifacts that are coming out of the pickup that aren't normal, like there's something wrong. And number two, I would say, is if you want to change to a completely different type of pickup. So that could either be from like a single coil that's vintage voiced to a single coil that's like hotter and like more wound, like a Texas style pickup, or even if you want to change completely to a humbucker, or even change the layout. So if you want 2 single coils and a humbucker, 2 humbuckers and a single coil, then those differences in the pickups are going to be much bigger compared to just changing to like one vintage voice pickup to another vintage voice pickup. They're both meant to sound vintage. So you're not going to get a big return compared to the cost of buying said pickup. I actually changed to the Fishman Fluence pickups, mainly one, because they're noiseless, especially with me, because I like playing high gain amps and stuff. And playing it with the Strat sounds really fun, but the noise is just ridiculous. I can't deal with it. Besides that, the pickups also have 2 voicings where it's like a classic sounding Strat, and it's also the overwhelmed Texas sounding kind of Strat. So I already have those 2 voicings without having to change the pickups, and it's just really versatile in that sense. So if you want to change completely the sound, then I would say change the pickups. Pickups are very expensive and they don't offer that much of a return unless you're completely changing the tone of your guitar. So I have this last on my list for that reason, and I don't think it's as important as people say or as people like to make it out to seem. I think it's more of like a flashy, like, oh my God, look at my pickups. Like, you know, it's just, who cares? And I'm saying this as someone who has Fishmans. I would be perfectly fine with like any pickups on a Strat as long as it didn't make noise, because that is the main reason I got those Fishmans. I cannot stand the high gain noise from a Strat. It's just so annoying. Anywho, those are my 6 mods that I would recommend that you do to your Strat. It's not specific to the Squier Affinity Strat, but I think overall, if you do most of these mods, you can make your guitar that maybe your favorite become your super favorite and turn just a regular Strat into a super Strat. Like, not a super Strat like my Ibanez's, but like an actual super Strat that can go and fight crime and has superpowers, and I'll stop there. But you get the point. If you need help, or if you want tips, or if you even want me to show you how to do most of these mods, let me know in the comments and I could actually make a dedicated video on doing said mods to show you step by step how easy it is. And to be honest, most of them are very easy, but I know that it can be daunting if you don't have a visual reference. Thank you for checking out this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments the type of mods that you have done to your Strat or to whatever guitar you have, or bass, or whatever instrument. Feel free to subscribe if you want more of this content. And everyone take care, stay safe, and have a great day.